Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Kathryn Delaney. Some people call me Katie. I am a trained herbalist, aromatherapist, nutritionist, and also work with flower essences. I have been a practicing aromatic conduit for most of my life, and that is how I tend to make most of my custom blends for people. Today I am with you to talk to you a little bit about the chakra system. Now, in times past, I have always taught my clients and students and friends about their chakra system and help them get acquainted with their chakra system with a set of essential oil blends that I formulated many years ago. But recently, with everyone being in a restricted place, it's more difficult to pass things around to people in a room. So I've been rethinking how to, raise people's awareness around their chakra system in light of these different restrictions that we've been living under. And with that said, I'm here with you today to talk to you a little bit about how your body gives you information via senses and intuition around what to do in any different situation. And that is, in fact, your chakra system guiding you in your life experience. Now let's just take a little backtrack and talk about the chakra system and what it is. In Sanskrit, it's considered wheels of light, and you have 7 major chakras that are located in a vertical line starting at the base of your spine. Your root chakra, you have a sacral chakra, a solar plexus chakra, a heart chakra, a throat chakra, a third eye chakra, and a crown chakra. And each of these chakras are close in proximity to a major endocrine gland within your system. And so when you get stimulated by your environment, whether externally or internally, it can trigger your endocrine glands to respond by releasing different hormones and chemicals through your system. And in that way, there's this network of information and chemistry that goes through your body that helps regulate your internal environment and respond to your external environment. So we all have a chakra system, whether or not we are aware of it. It's just something that I think people are becoming more and more aware of as they start to study the body and energies in particular. And today, because I don't have the ability to share with you my essential oil blend so you can actually feel your wheels of light within your body, I'm going to talk about some different ways that your body might be giving you those signals so that then you can reflect on those and start to understand this information that your body is giving you regarding your own chakra system. Because after all, our chakra system is where our spirit and our body unite. Years ago, I developed those blends to help people understand their chakra system and also to access and work through different blocks within their chakra system. And so I've been working on a workshop that I can do online, as well as perhaps workshops that I can do in person or classes that I can do one-on-one with people by sending them the oils and sending them the updated version of this workbook that I made about 10 years ago, teaching people just the basics of the chakra system. I really want to develop it more for workshops, and so that's what I'm working on now. But for the meantime, let's just talk about the body. So first off, let's look at the base chakra, or the root chakra, which is located at the base of the spine. Now, this chakra is associated with safety and security, and it's ruled by the earth element. And so ways that this chakra might be giving you signals is by means of fight or flight. It is a chakra that's associated with your kidneys and your adrenal glands. And so when you feel an intense sense of fear, you can have your adrenal glands triggered into feeling like you really need to get out of a situation, even if you may not mentally understand why. And then on the opposite end, you may also feel very anchored for some reason in a place of where you would normally move or walk. For instance, I was leaving a job one day, and I walked out of work, out of the main door, and after about 10 steps, I just stopped. And I didn't know why I stopped. I just stopped. And I looked to my left and I saw a gentleman who was working at the auto body shop, and he noticed that I stopped, and I acknowledged him. And right as I acknowledged him, my coworker, who had walked out of the job 5 minutes prior to me, reversed in a very speedy fashion and hadn't seen the fact that I had just walked out of the door. And so had I proceeded to continue walking, she would have hit me. And so that anchor that my body gave me to stop, like, kept me alive, right? So that was like my body's intuition to either be anchored or to get going. And you can feel the get going usually when you feel adrenaline in your body. So those are two ways that your root chakra can give you information around whether or not the situation that you're in is safe or if you should get going, you know. One thing to consider is that in common society, or, in common day society right now, we're all under a lot of stress. And so we can feel that sense of fight or flight in a chronic fashion rather than just in an acute way. Like in a, if we see a tiger that we have to run from, and then we get away and we're better, we feel, if we're in a state of constant stress, that we're kind of running from the tiger all the time. And that can be a really big stress on the adrenal system. So just to reflect on that and how we can possibly tend to our body and nurture to our body by not putting ourselves under so much stress. If we have some control over that, perhaps not stacking as much on our plate, and taking time to slow down, right? So the second chakra that we're going to talk about is the sacral chakra, which is located in the womb area of the body. And this is associated with the gonads and the sexual organs, and also the energy of creativity and the element of water. And so this chakra can literally show up, when we get excited about someone that we feel chemistry with, and it can also give us that same kind of excitement, not so much in the groin specifically, but in the sense of creativity and stirring, our creative fire when we really feel like we want to create something and we are just inspired to do it and we have to do it. And it's like this turning over and this excitement of our own inner waters. And our creativity as our means of expression is a really good way to work through emotional blockages. Like a lot of people use art and art therapy to work through pent-up emotions, because our chakra system is also, because it's a place where we process energies and work through energies, it can also be a place where energies are most often stored. And Barbara Brennan, who wrote the book Hands of Light, she has a lot of information on that in regard to how energies can get stored in our body when we don't allow energies to flow through our system. So our sacral chakra is a really important aspect of our toolbox that we get to literally transform emotions into creations of understanding and compassion. Now, when we get to our third chakra, or our solar plexus, now this chakra is typically associated with like our essential self and our sense of like our own inner sun. It's associated with fire element, and so it's our being, our willfulness. And so this can give us a sense of like that gut feeling of if something's off in a situation. I'm sure there's a number of people that have felt that. It also can show up in a way of like goosebumps and like a flush of information through your way, or through like the energetic that flows over your skin as your protective force. And so the solar plexus is an interesting center because it's really where we feel kind of called to become. And so goosebumps are really interesting feedback, because sometimes goosebumps show up out of fear and sometimes goosebumps show up out of excitement. And so you really have to be have attention to when they show up and what you're speaking about. Because, for instance, I've mentioned to many people that I was getting excited that I wanted to write a book, and in the same room, 2 people got goosebumps, right? And so it's like this excitement energy for me that they felt in the room, and they confirmed that back to me. Whereas there was another situation where I mentioned something and people kept getting goosebumps, and it was like my anxiety in the situation they were picking up on, and it ended up being an unsafe situation for me. So goosebumps can be really interesting feedback in a situation, and I invite you to journal on that and process that a little bit more so that you can get an understanding of how that gives you feedback in situations around people. Like, for instance, if someone else is talking about something that's important to them and you get goosebumps, check in with them later to see how that went, to see what your goosebumps were giving you feedback on, if that makes sense. So let's go up to the heart. Now, the heart is a really beautiful, all of our chakras, all of our jewels of light are beautiful. Our heart is really interesting because it's where we have this more dense energy of the physical world starting to combine with this inspiring energy of this world that's beyond even our conception. And our heart is where they meet, because it's the air element. It's where we exchange with people energetically and through relationships. And it's also where we start to feel a sense of our own heart and, how we feel in a situation, in our sense of growth and our being. So one example that I like to use in this instance of actually feeling your heart is if you are around, say, a child that you care about a lot, or a person that you care about a lot, or even an animal that you care about a lot. I recall having an experience with one of my pups where I went down to pet her, and my heart just swelled, and I just felt it expand, and it felt like it was expanding centimeters, because I could feel her love for me and my love for her, and it was this very mutual, pure, energetic exchange of gratitude for one another, and I could feel that in my heart. And when you look at the opposite side, there are some people and even animals, right, like creatures, mammals, that we can share proximity with, that we feel caged or like withdrawn in our heart. And sometimes you can see that somatically in yourself if you feel yourself wrapping your shoulders around your heart, kind of as a sense of protection. And people will do that when they're looking down. It's just a natural somatic way that we protect ourselves. But if you feel that kind of guardedness in a situation, it can be telling that perhaps your heart chakra doesn't feel completely safe in that emotional situation of exchange. I had that come up recently, and I questioned it, but I didn't really know what it was. And then as time progressed, I was like, that's why I felt there was this shield over my heart, and it was because it was wounded from an individual. And even though I had wanted to forgive them, I still felt that shield even when I went to embrace them. It was like I want to protect my heart from hugging you kind of a thing. So obviously we all would prefer to be around people that expand our heart, right? So that's a good information feedback to go by when we're around individuals, and we can feel that and be aware of that in our body. So let's go up to the next level, to the throat chakra. Now this has been a really powerful chakra for me, because many years ago I started learning about this chakra because I would always get sick, and I would get sore throats a lot as a child, and then especially in adulthood I started getting a lot of stiffness in my neck. And so I always seemed to have something going on with my throat and my neck. And as I started working with the chakra system and learning that it's through our throat chakra that we speak our truth or we swallow our words, I began understanding why I was getting sick, because there are often times where I would literally feel like I couldn't speak my truth because I was afraid of what it was going to do to a situation. And so I'd swallow that energy and I would tie that energy off from being expressed, and it would be locked into my system. And so our throat chakra is ideally there for a means of expression, and ultimately, in ideal circumstances, we would be expressing gratitude and love and light and, of course, all those pure positive things. But we also need to express our truth, and that's not always pleasant. Sometimes it can be very direct. Sometimes it can be angry. And we have a whole range of emotions that we are here to experience in life as mammals. And so none of them are better or worse than the other, right? They're all elements, and anger can be like a fire that stirs change in our lives, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, if you get what I mean. But speaking our truth is important, and of course, if we can be gentle in speaking our truth, that's ideal too. But if you don't speak your truth, it can lead to illnesses around the throat chakra and around this area of the body. Ways that you might get a sense from yourself that you aren't speaking your truth, maybe illnesses that show up in the throat part of your body, or in your neck. And it can also be sensations like being in a circumstance or situation where you feel like you want to say something, but you feel like a knot or like a rock, or like the saying, like there's a frog in your throat. There's something preventing you from speaking your truth. And then you can get additional feedback in that instance from your heart, which can then start giving you, heart palpitations, or start beating faster, which is like, I really have something to say. Please say something. Please just let it out. Let it out before I explode. Right? And that can often come through with wells of emotion if we have a lot that we've been holding inside that we feel like we couldn't or shouldn't say. But I encourage you to speak your truth, because we do tear up. We have wells of emotion because we're mammals, and we're meant to process things that way. And it's really, I believe, a disservice to all of us as humans for society to see that as a weakness. I really see it as a way of us detoxifying our emotional body, personally. But that's what I have to say about the throat chakra. Let's go to the sixth chakra, which is the third eye. And the third eye is how we perceive things in the world. And this is going to be really interesting because, we can get really fixated on what we are focusing our attention on in our life, personally and socially and globally, and in all these different facets of life itself. And in that ways, it can really put a veil over the rest of the world and what we see, as well as what we personally see as possible in our own lives and in the world. And so, is your third eye pretty focused on one specific area and fixated on that and identified with that and self-righteous in how you see things, or can your third eye open up and have a bigger perspective and a bigger perception and be willing to see what other people see as well, so that we can share in this world and learn from one another. The crown chakra is a chakra of inspiration and light, and it's where we can get epiphanies of understanding. And I've had the most, experiences with this chakra when I'm in a place of relaxation. For me, it comes through a lot of the times while I'm driving or doing something else where I'm not actually actively focusing on something. And they come through as visions and ideas. Like, for instance, a few years before my mom passed away, I had this vision of a play that I wanted to perform, because I made costumes and I did some performance, and I just had this idea for some reason that I wanted to create this play about how we shape our personality around, or how we shape our personality by who we surround ourselves with. So, you know, if you surround yourselves by bullies, you're going to become a bully. If you surround yourself by, you know, pretty princesses, you're going to become a pretty pompous princess, right? Or whatever. And so I wanted to tell this story about how we shape ourselves by who we surround ourselves by, and I wanted to do it through characters. And I don't know why I got this idea, right? I just got this idea. And then after I got this idea, right, this is a quick download of how to actually manifest ideas. I got this idea, I started detailing it out and started telling, you know, like piecing out how the actual storyline would go and what it would look like. Then I started speaking about it and telling people about this really oddball idea that I had. And people would tell me, you know, Katie, I don't understand, like, when are you going to do this? How are you going to do this? Who's going to do this? Who's going to perform? And I had no answers for them. I just said, I don't know. I just keep getting this vision and it keeps getting more detailed. And so I feel like one day it's going to happen. And like, I just keep getting more information. I don't know why. So I just spoke about it. And then I allowed my heart that exchange with people and put it out in the universe that I don't know how this is going to show up, but I know that it obviously will, because I keep getting information about it. And I started asking people, you know, like what they thought about it. And then one day I ended up finding, you know, crossing paths with someone who saw me just dancing in a corner of some event that was a fundraiser for something. And they said, I'm doing an event next year. I'll have a stage. Anything that you want to do, you're welcome to do. And I said, oh my gosh, are you serious? I want to do this play. And they were like, great, do the play. So I started asking friends of mine that I'd performed with if they wanted to be participants in this play and have a role. And they said they would. And before you knew it, it was a month away, and I was finishing costumes and putting together the screenplay and finalizing things. And I hadn't even at that point invited any of my family members to come, except for the ones that were being part, like one of the roles in the play. And at the time, my mom was sick, and she was living in Michigan. It was just a few months after she had told me that she had cancer. And the rest of my siblings and my family were in Colorado, but, you know, as a kid, we had so many, like, I had 3 siblings, and my parents were always busy, and they were divorced, so I just never bothered to tell my family, like, what was happening in my life, because I figured they were busy after a while, so I didn't think to tell anyone about this play. And before I knew it, it was coming right up in time, and my dad reached out to me and he said, what is this story that I hear that my granddaughter's going to be a role in this play you're doing? And I said, oh yeah, that's happening. And he's like, well, can I come? And I was like, yeah, you can totally come. And my mom calls me from Michigan, and she's like, what is this that I hear that, you know, my granddaughter's going to be in this play? Like, what is this thing? And I said, oh yeah, that's happening. She's, well, can I come? I'm like, well, yeah, of course you can come. So in a very short amount of time, all of my family members were deciding to come. All of my siblings were going to be there. And mind you, none of my family members had been in the same room together for more than 15 years prior to that, because my parents were divorced, right? And they didn't get along, and so we didn't share space with each other. And this event called all these people together to be in a neutral environment and to share space and to enjoy the day. And 6 months later, my mom passed away. And I reflected after my mom passed that the weekend of the play was the last time that any of my siblings got to see my mom. And so I was blown away by this magic of following your intuition around an idea or a vision that comes to mind, and how important it is to create it and manifest it, because you really don't know what is going to come of it ultimately. So these are ways that intuition and the chakra system can really integrate and weave into our lives, and if we work with it, we can use this tool and treat it as one of our closest friends and companions as we move through life and grow as individual human beings on this earth. If you'd like more information about the chakra system or are interested in my workshops that are coming up, please write to me at rootsofalchemy@gmail.com. If you are interested in making a donation because you thought any of this information was useful and you'd like to contribute to what I do and my channel, I would really appreciate it. You are welcome to do that via PayPal at rootsofalchemy@gmail.com as well. I send you so much love, and if you have any questions about any of this that I shared today, please leave me a comment below. I will see you again soon. Have a blessed day.